Hi friends, I hope you all are doing well. Today we will be discussing upon one of the important amendment that has been done in section 140 of the GST Act related to allowability of trans credit via retrospective amendment on 16th May 2020. And to throw light on this topic, we have a renowned GST faculty, CA Achal Kapoorji with us, Seedhe from Amritsar. So, to just give a brief intro about Achal Kapoor ji, she is a 2009 chartered accountant and practicing since past 10 years in the field of indirect taxes. She is a rank holder in chartered accountancy examination and a gold medalist in graduation. She has delivered, I think, more than I would say various seminars on GST on various professional and industrial platforms. So I'll not take much of your time. Over to you, Achal ji.
Thank you so much, Aditya ji, and the Professional Times for giving me this opportunity and for such a warm welcome to deliberate on the one of the most talked topics of the day, that is the retrospective googly, which is being played by the government. So it has been a criteria now. We go to the courts, we fight for it, and then the government comes up with certain sort of retrospective amendments. So let's see how it stands in the due course, whether the benefit of the judgments will be available with respect to trans fund credit, will it be available, or the retrospective amendment as done by the government will sustain. So should I share the presentation?
Ji ma'am, please.
Yeah, so can you please enable the screen sharing?
Ma'am, now check.
Yeah, is it visible? Aditya, I think so. You are on a mute. I hope.
Yes, ma'am. You may proceed.
Okay.
It is visible.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we will be talking about a reverse googly that has been played by the government with respect to the allowability of trans one credit amidst this retrospective amendment that has come to section 140. So in order to deliberate on this topic, first of all, I would like to take you through a series of events that took place. What has been the sequence of events that took place in the entire course. So the story started well back in on 1/7/2017 when the GST came into picture. The GST Act, the Central GST Act 2017, had the provisions from section 140 to 14010, 141 to 14010, which talked about the transitional provisions, that how the credits, the duties that have been paid in the previous regime, how that can be transformed into the new regime. But let me tell you, when this 141 to 14010 sections came into picture, the section specified that the transitional credit will be brought into GST through within the prescribed manner. So it only referred to the prescribed manner and not to the prescribed time. So that has been specified that the prescribed time words were missing in section 140 and the various clauses of it. But however, rule 117 prescribed the time frame that it has to be taken within a period of 90 days from the appointed date. So it all started with it. The assessees, there were so many technical glitches all over involved. The assessee went to the courts and there came the favorable judgment to assessee, and which allowed the filing of trans one even beyond the time frame as prescribed under Rule 117. So there came the judgment of SAR reality, which was favorable to assessees. But despite of it, regular extensions were given by the government under from time to time because of the technical glitches, the technical difficulties in uploading that the assessees were facing. Then the government, in order to bring a uniformity or to come as to go through these regular phases of extension, came up with Rule 117A, wide notification number 48 by 2018, dated 10/9/2018, where the power was given to the commissioner of the council to recommend, on the recommendation of the council, to extend the Trans 1 submission owing to the technical difficulties. But let me tell you, this extension was previously till December 9th, then it was extended to March, and now it has been further extended to 31st March 2020, which further due to COVID would have been considered up to 30th 6. But this extension was to be granted by the commissioner on the recommendation of council only in case of the technical difficulties. Then the various assessees who went to the court came up with the lots and lots of favorable judgments stating that the rule 117 is ultra vires the act, because the act refers to only the manner to be prescribed and there is no talk about the time to be prescribed. And these judgments, like Siddhartha Enterprises, I have produced a list in front of you. AB Paul Electricals, Edford Technologies, it's a Punjab and Haryana High Court judgment, which and the Bluebird, Bhargava Motors, Siddhartha Enterprises, lots of judgment that came up, and they considered the transitional credit as a vested right. Vested right means the right which is a substantive procedure which flows through the constitution. Some of these judgments even refer to, when we will see the judgment of brand equity, they have equated that it's a right which is flowing from the constitution owing to article 300A of the constitution. So they considered it to be a vested right and said that rule 117 being ultra vires the act cannot prescribe a time period for a substantive procedure, a substantive right that has been given. So as a result, these judgments considered that the time period as applicable, as considered, should not be applicable and allowed the assessees to go for the Trans 1 even beyond the time period. But amidst this, there were two judgments which were against also. So we will be discussing the pros and cons both here in this deliberation. So there were certain judgments which were against also. Out of these two are Willowwood Chemicals and the Nalco Limited by the Bombay High Court. So Nalco Limited came on 20th 2020 itself, and it said that, see, these are certain important things. Why I am referring to rule 117? Because the amendment which the government has brought in is with respect to this point only. So then came the judgment of Nelco Limited. It said it is not ultra vires. Why it is not ultra vires? Because they said the government has the power under section 164 of the CGST Act to come up with the rules. So even if it is not prescribed in the rule in the particular section 140, the journal power from section 164 can be taken, and it is not ultra vires. But because lots of judgment came in favor, the government through its Finance Bill 2020, in order to overcome the judgment of Siddhartha and various others, came up with a provision. They came up with a amendment that within the prescribed time limit, words will be added. So till the Finance Bill 2020, section 128 was a proposed amendment in section 140. So 128 is the section of Finance Bill which proposed amendment in section 140 retrospectively with effect from 1/7/2017. This act also got passed on 27/3/2020. But when this act got passed, still it mentioned that the certain sections of these dealing with the transitional provisions, dealing with the Finance Act which deals with GST provisions, will come into force when the central government will notify an official gazette. Means they proposed it, they passed it through the act, but still it was not made effective, because to come into effect, it was mentioned that it will come into effect from a date when it will be notified by the central government. Meanwhile came the judgment of brand equity treaties or Reliance Electrical, because there were 5 petitioners who went together, so we can name it with either of the cases. Brand equity and the Reliance Electric judgment was a very, very important judgment, because the other judgments were judgment in personam. But this judgment was a judgment in rem. In rem means it didn't only extended the benefit to the petitioners, but opened the room for Trans 1 credit for all. Right? So this judgment allowed the manual as well as electronic filing of Trans 1 for assesses up to 30th 6 2020. Abhi, we will be taking up the brand equity or Reliance Electric judgment in length, so that we are able to connect that how the judgment was brought in, what was the effect being a judgment in REM, and how the government has come up with the notification. Then after this judgment was pronounced on 5/5/2020, notification 43 by 2020 dated 16/5/2020 was issued. The judgment, the notification came on 16/5/2020, which seeks to bring into force, yani the official gazette, the central government will notify an official gazette date will be 18/5/2020. They said from 18/5/2020, section 128 of the Finance Act will come into force. But when we go to section 128 of the Finance Act, it says that it is a retrospective amendment from 1/7/2017. So there are 3 dates involved in it: 16/5/2020, 18/5/2020. Notification came on 16/5 to be come into force from 16. The section to come into force from 18/5, but the section 128 of Finance Act itself said that the amendment made to section 140 of CGST will be taken right back retrospectively from 1/7/2017. So now we will see how the judgment of brand equity came, and being the judgment in REM was one of the very, very important judgments, and it came on 5/5, and you will see a number of Trans 1 credit claims were filed during the period from 5/5 to 18/5/2020 also. So even after that, so we will see how we will proceed into it, whether we can file, whether we should file, or what is the fate of this amendment being made by, what is going to be fate of this amendment and this judgment with respect to the amendment being made by the government. So in the line, I will first be taking up in detail the judgment of Reliance Electric work, Delhi High Court judgment. 5 petitioner applicants seek the identical relief in this through this writ petition being filed in Delhi High Court. And as I already mentioned, it is a judgment in REM. What was the relief which was sought in it? Sir, please be with me in this judgment, because this judgment is going to give us the base on which we can fight for our right and we can get the trans credit availed, and how we can proceed in it. Now, the petitioner seek the relief with respect to filing of, allowing of Senvet credit claims by transitional credit claims beyond the time. And in this, they particularly held that Rule 117 is arbitrary, unconstitutional, and is violative of section Article 14, as it does not seek equality. It is only granted to those people who are facing the technical glitches. So 2 issues that allow us to file it beyond the time period, and secondly, that Rule 117 has no substantive powers. It is not flowing from the Act itself. So when they went, but what is important to know? Let me tell you, the judgment of Reliance Electric work talked about the delays which are not on account of technical glitches, but on account of technical difficulties. Technical difficulties on the part of the assessors. For example, one of the case was that their owner was not there. He was suffering from ill health. As a result, the other staff was unable to file the Trans 1, being the technicalities involved. So this was also one of the technical difficulties. And by the time he could file it, or he could collect the data and he tried to file it, he was unable to do so. But because of this, his vested right, the right which the law has already given him, should not be curtailed in view of Rule 117 time period. But let me tell you one more thing which is very important, sir. This judgment deals only with 140 clause 1 transitional credit. That is the credit which is flowing from the previous returns, the existing law returns. It is not talking about the 142 or the 140 clause 2 where the documents and supportive documents are required. So it is only talking about 140 subsection 1. Now, the arguments, as already told you, the assessee said it's a vested right. Don't take my right through a procedural nature, and it is a right. It's the time period of Rule 117 is just procedural in nature. and is without any the substantive provision. Then the department said, no, it is not a vested right, and it is not the technical issues that the assessee has faced, but these are the casual approach being taken by the assessee, by the applicants, and that is why it is their negligence. And they also refer to section 164, as we talked about in the judgment of Nelco a few time back. So they also referred that even if the power for prescribing the time period is not given under the said section 140, it can be taken from section 164. Now, the court, in the broad sense, came up with 3 issues. What was the health of this judgment, which is one of the most important issues to be known? It said that, first, it talked about the time period under Rule 117. It said that the government itself is extending the time period from time to time, and government is acknowledging it, that there are technical glitches being faced by the assessees in filing of the Tran 1. And the time to time extension shows that the time period there given in there is only directory and is not a mandatory provision. It also referred that it is not supported by the legislature itself, and it shows that it is not mandatory. And furthermore, they also held that we consider, in the absence of any time, because it is without the support of the act, we consider as no time period has been prescribed under the said act. But the court put a question that it does not mean that the right is in perpetuity. In the absence of any time period, we will go to the Limitation Act residual clause, as if no time period has been prescribed, because it is not there in the rule, in the section 140. We consider it is not provided in the act. We consider Rule 117 is only a directory time period being provided, that is of 90 days. And in the absence of any specific provision of the act, we take the residuary provision of the Limitation Act, and 3 years period is applied on it, which was expiring on 30/6/2020. So, and they said that this avenue, this era, this issue, we are not opening for the petitioners only, but it is open for every assessee whosoever, owing to technical difficulties, could not file it. Now, other than this, so this is, you see, is one of the base thing, that Rule 117 was challenged, was mentioned that it is a lacuna in the law, that it is a directory provision, it is not a mandatory provision, because it is not deriving the power from the act. Second issue, which is discussed, is the Senvet credit. While discussing Rule 117, it was held by Honorable Delhi High Court that it is a vested right, not only in this case, but various other judgments. The Senvet credit, the transitional credit, was held to be a vested right of the person, and owing to Article 300A, it has been said to be a constitutional right, right in a property, which is available with the assessee. And it was held by the court that same cannot be merely taken away by way of a delegated legislation, a time period which was prescribed in the rules. And hence, but please keep it in mind, they held it to be a vested right. See, we must make a distinction between a vested right and absolute right. I'm not saying that it is an absolute right. A vested right can be a conditional right, but a vested right is the one which is vested into a person, which he is already entitled to, and how you are taking that right by firstly prescribing a particular time period in the rules, and secondly, then suddenly making a retrospective amendment in order to overcome the judgments, lacuna, a loophole being plugged, that too retrospective. So, Senvet credit being a vested right is one of the very, very important bases. And while doing this, we also can rely upon the various judgments which have been given by Supreme Court, like in Aisha Motor, Daiichi Karkaria. All those can be referred to. Now, third issue, which this case law brought into, that was the technical difficulty. It gave a very broad definition of technical difficulty. It it mentioned that the government is moving one-sided. It is arbitrary. It is discriminatory. When the lapses on the part of the government, when their side is not working, when there are technical glitches involved, they consider it to be a technical difficulty. And whereas when it comes to the part of the SAC, they want it to be fully uploaded with everything and fully equipped with everything. So it said technical difficulty not only means the difficulty on the filing portal, whereas it has a much broader scope. It refers to technical difficulty, any sort of technical difficulty at the end of the person filing it, and is not only related to the filing of the form. So what came the impact of this judgment? It opened the window for everyone, said you can manually or online through online portal can file the Tran 1 till 30th/6/2020, applying the limitation period of Limitation Act, residual period of Limitation Act. So this was the huge impact. Trans 1 started getting filed, and then came, despite of it, there were, as we talked about earlier also, the various judgments in case of ABPOL Electricals, in case of Bluebird, Sar Realty, Bhargava Motors, where it has been held that this is a vested right and Rule 117 was considered. Ultra Wires admits the other side of the coin in case of Willowwood. So Willowwood is being considered while delivering the judgment in case of this brand equity, but they have held that because the subsequent court has itself given some other judgments against Willowwood, so that has not been considered. Whereas in case of Nelco, it has been held that Rule 117 was not ultra wires owing to Section 164. But what was the impact of the judgment which came on 5/5/2020, Bhargava Motors? The government, what it did, it came up with an amendment through a notification. It made the amendment effective. So what was the amendment? Let's have a look. These are the various clauses of Section 140 that dealt with the transitional credit. And if you see, in the previous old provision, the word was in such manner as may be prescribed. It only referred to the manner. Whereas when the new provision is being read, it says within such time period and in such manner as may be prescribed. And this was made with effect from 1/7/2017. This implies that when the government came up with this retrospective googly notification number 43/2020, making this amendment of the Finance Act 2020, Section 128 of the said Act, by making a retrospective amendment to Section 140 of the CGST Act, wide this notification from 1/7/2017, it was meant that the ground raised by the petitioner before various courts challenging the validity of Rule 117 stands exhausted. So it somewhat put all the judgments into a nullity provision, that it is the effect of nullifying those judgments with respect to time period prescribed under Rule 117. Now, the moot and the most important question that comes in this respect is, what is the fate of this retrospective amendment being made by the government? So can government come up with such sort of retrospective amendment? So first of all, saying that there is no denial that the government has the power to bring in the retrospective law, but as we go back and see various judgments, it is not an unlimited power, it is a limited power. Till the time these retrospective judgments are just making the procedural changes, it is fine. A mistake of a comma or certain other things, or if it is beneficial, it is fine. But when it is done in order to negate the effect of the judgments pronounced and to overturn the situation and to curtail the substantive or the vested rights, it has to be challenged, and it will be challenged. You will be seeing soon. But the one thing, the one who challenges it must keep in mind that this is one of the most important provision defining the destiny of various transfer and credit to be filed in the due course. So, with respect to this retrospective amendment, Supreme Court of India, in case of Karnataka Pawnbrokers Association, has clearly held that legislature which set at naught the judgment which have been pronounced should not be carried on. Should not be. It should not be the. See, it shows the arbitrariness of the government somewhere. So, same has been held by the Supreme Court in case of Hitendra Vishnu Thakur case also, that the amendments which result to create new disabilities or obligations should not be sustained. So considering this, if an amendment is bringing in substantive change, it should not be given a retrospective effect. Even in such case, it has been held that to declare the legislature cannot be by way of an enactment declare a decision to be erroneous or nullity. It can amend the statute, but not for this purpose. However, it is not a settled law as such. There are various judgments which favors the retrospective amendments, even like in case of RC Tobacco Private Limited, or in case of Netle, it has been held that even the government can come up with certain sort of retrospective amendments and can cure the defects. However, one more thing, please keep in mind section 164 subsection 3 also. Sir, in case of GST Act, section 164 subsection 3 gives a specific power, express power to the government to come up with the retrospective amendments even in the rules. So if we talk about the service tax or excise regime, this section was not there. But section 164 subsection 3 gives the power to give retrospective effect to or any of them, to any rule from a date as may be specified, right? So considering this, now what plays the most vital role is how this retrospective amendment, how the courts come up with, how the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court comes up with it, and how it is being gets presented, because it's not an easy task. As I told you, there are various judgments which are in favor, which are against. Now, what are the implications? The first question arises that how? Now, what is the fate of the judgment that came in, the retrospective amendment came in? Surely, let me tell you, at one point of time, it has negated the effect to the extent of the validity of the time period as prescribed in Rule 117. Aditya, I thought it got disconnected in between.
Hello.
Yeah, is it connected? It got disconnected.
बीच में हो गया. It is fine now. You can continue. I think it was a bug.
Till the time it was audible?
Yes, it was audible.
Okay. So we were on the implication part now.
Yes.
See, at one point of time, beyond doubt that this judgment has negated this retrospective amendment has negated the effect of the judgments or as regard to the validity of the time period as prescribed in Rule 117. The legal loophole which was there, the government has plugged it. So let me tell you, it has opened another round of litigation. So let's see what happens in to the fate of this retrospective amendment in the due course. But meanwhile, we should consider the other points also. So everything is not over. These judgments have given us a wider definition of technical difficulty. So those assessees who were considering that only the technical glitch of the portal was in between there have now got a wider definition of the technical difficulties and can take the benefit of Rule 117A, which provided a exemption in case of technical difficulties, and can approach the commissioner for allowing them for filing of their claims. Moreover, It also raised a doubt about the preparedness of the government. Sir, let me tell you, in none of the judgments it has been challenged that the period of 90 days as prescribed in the rule is not sufficient. The government, in a period of almost, we are on the verge of the completion of 3 years, is unable to bring the returns. The GSTR 3, the GSTR 2A has not yet come into picture, and they want a SECI to come up with and to comply with all the provisions of the Act. They want that within a period of 90 days, or as 90 days extension was there, they wanted the SECI to come up with it at anyhow, and in case they were not able to do so, their vested right will come to a nullity. So I think so. This is also one of the point which can be challenged on the ground, that the period of 90 days is not sufficient. And let me tell you, in the previous regimes also, this time periods as to their sufficiency have also already been challenged, and the beneficial judgments are available in those respects. Despite it, it also paved the way. These judgments mentioned that this is a vested right, as against NELCO, as against the other against judgment, which held it to be a concession given by the statute. So let me tell you, the judgments have come up that it is not a concession, it is not merely a concession, but is a vested right. Even the judgment, which although is not related to the topic, but somewhere related to the credit itself, Shabnam Petrophils, it is also held that ITC is a vested right. And transitional credit, which is coming through the returns of the previous regime, has also held to be a vested right by various judgments, may it be Siddhartha, may it be brand equity, may it be Adfert. So all those judgments have considered it to be a vested right. Even in case of Eicher Motors, Daiichi Karkaria, and Central India Limited, New Swadeshi Sugar Mills, Osram Surya, all these judgments by the honorable courts have been held ITC to be a vested right and been duly relied upon in the GST regime also. So when it is a vested right, how a vested right can be taken away by a retrospective law amendment? The retrospective amendment must be checked. Let me tell you, it must be checked on the basis of morality, legality, reasonableness, and its effect and its ramifications, its consequences. It is not a legal loophole, a comma mistake or some mistake like that that has been cured by the legislature by making a retrospective amendment, but they are curtailing a right of the assessee, a vested right of the assessee. So according to me, a word of caution, although please don't take it as a legal advice, but a recommendation as a word of abundant caution, I think so at my own personal level, not everything is over. Not everything is over. We are still in the process of challenging the retrospective amendment being made, the various judgments, the various points regarding the validity of the retrospective amendment, preparedness of the GST itself, the extensions which showed somewhere the arbitrary approach of the government, the burden of legislative error, why it should be borne by the assessee on its financial cost every time. So there, these adverse implications to the assessee are being borne by assessee due to the defectiveness in the legislature. So all these things need to be settled by the honorable courts in the due course of time. And meanwhile, as a matter of abundant caution, we should, I think so, we should file the claim till 30th/6/2020. Window, as you know, is not open. So you can either apply to your officer to open the window for you, or if it is not done, you can file it manually, so that in order to keep a trail with you, as you know, in case of Shree Motors, they ask for those assessee who have the trail. So in order to keep, we must try it so that in future course, if any favorable judgment comes, we are not denied with its benefit and the room still remains open for us. So with this, I end this session and over to you, Aditya ji. Thank you so much, everyone, for a patient listening.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful deliberation. I think you have rightly said in your presentation that it was a completely googly by Government of India. और ऐसी पता नहीं कितनी गूगलियां हम देख चुके हैं और आने वाले टाइम में हम देखेंगे. Also on 1st July 2020 3 years पूरे होने वाले हैं GST को. So day by day GST is getting old and day by day it is getting more complex due to advanced ruling and various high court judgments.
True, Aditya ji, you are very true, because we have seen in the recent scenario that the government has become a bit habitual, that whenever any favorable judgment comes, may it be 3B is not a return, as you have already seen,
Ji.
they come up with the retrospective amendments. So need to be challenged is the due course.
So जैसे जैसे GST is getting more complex, हमें आपकी बार बार जरूरत पड़ती रहेगी हमारे चैनल पे to throw lights and knowledge to our viewers. So thank you so much Achal ji, and to all the viewers, I request you to please subscribe our channel for getting regular updates on GST and other important burning issues related to GST and other professional matters. Till then, be safe. Thank you Achal ji. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, sir. Thanks a lot.